back up or not. It says I'm live. Uh, yeah, that was really messed up. I know this was all over the place anyway, but it's just, I'm getting ahead of myself. I wanted to go through, and this is why I wanted to do the lesson plan so I can keep myself on track. But, yeah, that's messed up. I can't believe it did that. Well, I can. My fucking cell phone shit. Come on. Okay. Hey, Howard. Let's see. Yeah, it was like right. Let's see, my microphone's on. Give me a sec. Yeah. But these are all things that like I've learned along the way. And not that I'm an expert at the practice of it yet. I'm just sharing information that's helpful. Yeah, the last one, usually it'll cut out like that, and then I can just go back in and reconnect, and it'll be fine. And yeah, it did not want to do that. Yeah, I'm getting ready to come back on camera. I'm just trying to switch everything around because I'm going to sit down and talk about this stuff. Maybe I'll be more. There we go, part 2. I got to open it up on my computer, reshare, do all that. Because I'm a procrastinator. It's not like I got a whole lot going on during the day, but by the time I get up and start doing things, like mentally, I'm not awake until later in the day. I need to start doing them sooner, but this is what works for right now, and it's always there. Oh, I hope you feel better. Yeah, I was like doing like the classes and stuff like that, and tomorrow I got to go out and find a job, another job, because I mean I think I still have the one at Pizza Hut, but like $9 an hour ain't cutting it when it's a single income. It was okay, when there was a dual income, but now that it's single income, yeah, that ain't going to touch my bills. Oh, yeah, that sucks to hear. Yeah, one of these days I'll be more of a functioning adult, I guess. Right now, not so much. Right now, I'm doing what I can when I can, kind of thing. I don't even remember what I was talking about. I think it was talking about like just forgiving and giving a safe place. But most of this is what I'm finding is how we treat ourselves. It really comes down to a lot of how we treat ourselves. Being aware of factors that you know being aware of how our brain works, which is knowing the biological factors, environmental, the uh, sociological, all that. And it's kind of hard to do that because it's like the thing is, it's like when you have the thing that is sick, like when you have something that's like in your head that's like depression, anxiety, whatever it is, things that happen, trauma. It's like the organ that's sick is the organ that has to fix the sickness. Like, and because of that, and so that's even though, and you can think of it logically, and that's where, you know, things like self harm, suicide, things like that, it will seem logical. at that time, because it's like, yeah, because you're not where you should be mentally, like, not to say like all instances. I mean, I get, some of these things, cancer, stuff like that happens, but, hold on. 2 minutes. And then that's another thing. I think that's a whole branch that we could get into right there, because addiction, that's another thing. I mean, we all got something. Well, most people do. A lot of people do. I wouldn't say most, but I know a plurality of people. And I've struggled with that, with certain things. Thank God I was able to, and there's a difference between dependence and full-blown addiction, but I went through that with the opiates. I mean, I haven't touched that in over 10 years now, but it's not to say that I'm free from addiction. I still smoke, things like that. So yeah, we all have room for improvement. We all have things that we got to work on, and just because you fix one problem doesn't mean another one's not going to pop back up. So, I'm going to finish my smoke. No, jump back one. Man, that was aggravating. I was like in a flow state there. Hey, First Amendment. Yeah, I'm getting ready to come back on. Yeah, even here, I mean, God, there's no jobs here at all. None. I mean, when I was in North Carolina and I was so close to moving down there, I mean, they were calling me, employer. I put my resume out there, and I was having people call me all the time, offering me jobs that were over $20 an hour. And here, I can't get callbacks. I can't get, the only jobs I can get anymore are the minimum wage ones. I mean, that's been my last 3 jobs. Before that, I worked at the hospital. I worked at LabCorp. I had jobs that was, not great, but, paid a lot more than this. It was like $13 an hour. I think it's the most I've ever made. 13, something like that. Which, if it was anywhere else, it would have been a lot more, but because it's here, yeah. Yeah, it keeps... Yeah. Oh, yeah, Australia's crazy about stuff like that. It's, oh God, and the taxes, I know that, what we get here, y'all will pay like double on some of this stuff. I know video games is one of them. It's way more expensive. But yeah, yet another factor. So this is something like I'm a long time heavy smoker. Oh God, I know. Oh God, it's awful. It's so bad, and I know it's bad. See, that's the thing. It's like knowing something doesn't mean that it translates. I know it's bad. I know it's. My whole thing is like, I'm gonna quit before I'm 30. There's no way I'm gonna smoke after 30. Well, getting ready to turn 35. But with there, I think that once I get all the other chaotic factors all said and done, I'll be able to be more honest, or not honest, but open about stuff. But I want to be open about it because I think, and Shanda really inspired me with this over on, Beauty and the Boomer, Roar Media, because she talks about her addiction, and she does the weekly show to Hell and Back, where she goes through and she talks about all her personal experiences. And this is one of those things that's so cloaked in shame that nobody wants to admit to it. Nobody wants to admit that they're the ones with the problems. They're struggling with addiction or mental health issues. They're just shame and guilt wrapped up in it, because a lot of times when you're in those in the throes of that, it's you do things that you wouldn't normally do, so, and then afterwards it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want anybody to know that about me. I don't want anybody to think badly of me, but we have to start being more, sharing our experiences more with this, or else, in order to encourage other people, and just, for ourselves, like, we don't, if shame and guilt grow in darkness, it grows when nobody else knows. So if I'm open about everything and I say everything, then that has nowhere to grow in me. You get what I'm saying? So, I want to be able to do that, but just because of legal purposes, I have to make sure that I gotta wash my ass on certain things. But once that's over and done with, I'll be able to do that. But for now, right now, we'll just focus on this stuff, and then we'll get to that stuff later. All addictions are to quiet an internal anxiety in order to function. Yeah, you're suppressing something. You have to suppress it. Yeah, and this is the thing. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it helps us to be better friends, better parents, better, to reach our goals that we want, to know ourselves better, to accept and love ourselves, to be able to have, good marriages, good everything. How we navigate. This is how, there's so much to this, and it opens up so much. And if it's the thing that we don't do, we don't know about, we're not taught. We're not taught any of this stuff. I know in high school we had some basic, like an intro to psych, which was an elective. It wasn't, but we're not taught emotional intelligence. We're not taught, instead of the DARE program, why don't they do stuff like, actually tackle the reasons why addiction happens? Don't just open up a briefcase full of drugs, show it to, and then just say no. And just say, like, oh, you know what? Pot's going to make you feel good, and it's going to make you loopy, and, this drug's going to do this. And it's just like, are you selling it to me? Because that's what it kind of seems like. It's like, I don't know. Because it's like, they tell a bunch of kids this stuff, and then they say, well, but don't do it. Just say no. Doesn't. But that's probably why they do it that way, because they, want to make it a little bit more alluring or whatever for these kids that don't even understand it. This is fucked up. But there's so many segments of this that needs to be done. But yeah, that I really appreciate Shanda for doing that. It's good to see other people come forward, talk about their experience. And it's inspiring, because that's not an easy thing to talk about at all. Because addicts are not they're not the most they're not the type of people that people have empathy for, because during that, when they're riding on that part of their brain, they do things that are really messed up. They'll steal stuff, they'll hurt people, they do a lot of things that damages other people, and then because of that, they're not the most sympathetic people, but so we have to remember that that's not, and just a wonderful human being. And then she found her dad dead from an overdose at 9, which, messed her up. Her mom was on drugs, because they were with physical and emotional. They turned to drugs. She found her dad dead. She started doing drugs a couple of years after that. Her mom was full-blown on drugs. Her mom enabled her, gave her all kinds of stuff. She found her mom dead by the time she was like 15 or 16. So she was homeless at that point because her brother wouldn't take her in. So here she was as a teenager, found both her parents dead, strung out on drugs herself, and you know, it just. And the last thing I heard from her was she was in the ER for drinking antifreeze. Now this is the same girl I knew. It's not the same girl, but it's the same body that, you know, I had hope in life and aspirations and all that. That person's totally gone now. That person I knew is dead already because of that. And what chance did she have? I mean, it's not like this was a grown adult that had all the mental faculties to be able to process this stuff and or even had the resources to, you know, be able to go and seek help to sort these things out. So what was she supposed to do? How else was that? And I tried to help her, but after all that, you know, and I had kids, and with the way that she was doing drugs, I couldn't have that around my kids. And unfortunately, you know, I just couldn't have her around anymore. Not that I didn't care about her, not that I didn't want to help her, or that I would have been there for her, but I just couldn't. I couldn't have her, you know, physically in my life anymore because of that. I mean, what if she dropped drugs and one of my kids, you know, crawled over and put it in their mouth? You know, that, it just sucks, man. It sucks. And why is that? Because we're an extraction state and her parents were forced into the coal mines. And she, you know, because of that and the chemicals that they were exposed to and the water that they drank, she was born with a cleft lip too. So, you know, put the endless, relentless bullying of children on top of all the other trauma. It's like she had this so much self-hatred for all this stuff. It's like, I mean, oh my God, I just felt. I wish there was a different outcome to that, but that's the way that our world is structured for right now. And like I said, she has to do that to forget about finding her parents dead. She has to do that to forget about all the shit that she went through while being homeless, or, you know, currently being homeless. The trauma doesn't end, because once she's like on that path, it's like, yeah, and it's going to lead to more and more trauma. Like I said, you know, with this stuff here, you know, bad thoughts, bad emotions, bad actions, rinse and repeat. And you know, I've done the same thing myself, but not to that degree. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's nothing compared to anything that she's been through. But yeah, I mean, I've had my fair share of you know, abuse, violence, assaults. You know, they say like 1 in 4 women are sexually assaulted or raped. And it's like, I mean, that's happened several times to me. And then it's just the constant survival. And you can't process those things. You have to just shove them down and just keep going. You have to just keep going. You don't have time to think about it. You have to keep going. And that's the other part where addiction comes in. You just got to keep going. You got to keep going. So you're going to put whatever you can into your body, you know, somewhere depressing to where you can just keep going. Now here I am at almost 35 years old, and I'm tired. And I just broke because I'm tired. I'm tired of fighting. It got to a point where I couldn't do that anymore. I had to sit there, actually think about the things. It was exhausting. It's exhausting. It's like, and then at that point, you just quit swimming. You know, you just can't keep your head above the water anymore. You have to, you know, you just want to quit and just, you know, sink down, because you just don't, not that you want to, but you just don't have the energy anymore. And that's where I was at. And so I had to prioritize this stuff, because if not, it's going to fucking kill me. Whether it's from the, you know, smoking, or, you know, the stress of it, the actions that you know, leading me to. And you know, I'm not so different from everybody else. You know, I know a lot of things, but it doesn't help in this situation. doesn't matter how smart you are still susceptible to these things. It doesn't matter. Even if you're, you know, have several doctorates in psychology, like, you still are susceptible to this stuff. Because there's only so much that life can throw at you. So I have to prioritize that and just, like, let everything else, come what may with that. But this has to be the priority, because if I don't have this, I don't have anything else. I was tested gifted. I have a, I went to, all the doctors and stuff. They did the tests. Not that it matters, whatever. But I was like, I have an IQ of 132. I have the capacity for so much, but I can't access those aspects of myself because the emotional stuff. So it's like you have to be able, and that unlocks so much of your potential, unlocks everything. Relationships, friendships, it enables you to be the best person that you can be. You can't be the best person that you can be without tackling the internal. I mean, and you could still be a fantastic person. You could still be, successful, but you're not going to reach your full potential until you do these things. You're still going to be susceptible to all these, traps and pitfalls that people will set up for you or exploit because of this. And even then, it's not even other people. Sometimes it's yourself that exploits it. Sometimes it's yourself that, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's not even without anybody else doing anything, you're still going to mess yourself up to a certain degree without, processing this stuff and learning about it. So this is why it's so important to me. It's a personal thing, but it's also, I'm looking around and I'm seeing it, and I've been seeing that for years, decades. And I never could, like, put it into words of, like, everybody wants to say, like, there's something wrong with me because I'm open about the things that I'm going through. Whereas, other people will just, like, stuff it down and not talk about it. So, yeah, I am. And there's no shame in that. There's no guilt in that. Yeah, things have been a little screwed up for a long time. Like, shit happens. And there's nothing wrong with me because things have happened to me. Now, does that mean that I get to go and continue on being harmful or being, hurting people? No. Mental illness, and this is the best thing I've ever heard, is mental illness is not your fault, or, the mental issues are not your fault, but it is your responsibility. It is. So it's not my fault that things happen, that, I was born the way that I was born, or that certain people did things that were traumatic at a certain age. That's not my fault. But it is my responsibility to learn from that and get better from it, so that way I don't take this out on other people. Because at the end of the day, that's the one thing I never want to do. I never want to be the person that inflicts that on somebody else. I don't want to be that person. And that's the shitty thing about hurt, when you hurt other people, like there's certain, that's that thing. It's like, if you put your hand on the stove and you don't feel it, you're going to burn your hand off. That pain is there for a reason. So, when I was shutting all that stuff off and hiding aspects of myself, hiding this, it unintentionally, inadvertently, I would do things that would hurt other people because of that. And people that I loved. So, yeah, like, I want to think of myself as a good person, and I think that I can be, and I am for a lot of things, but by hiding those parts of myself and not dealing with it, yeah, it caused things to happen to be a person that I didn't want to be. So, but I have to find some level of forgiveness for myself and not, and learn from it and not be ridden with guilt and shame, because those are useless negative emotions that's going to lead to more actions that hurt other people. So it sucks. It's not a fun process. Like later on, it gets better. Like it does. I mean, at first it's like, oh God, it's like all emotional. It's exhausting. It's draining. But eventually you'll get like to a point because I'm better than what I was before. Yeah, this is the best version of me so far. Along the way, I've done work like this, but I didn't. There were certain things I didn't know, or I didn't. Yeah, I hadn't hit the milestones that uh, to where I could fully process it or understand it. And so yeah, I mean, but I've been working on this for a while, and I've made certain progress in certain ways. But at this point in life, it's like, yeah, I gotta do this, gotta do this. So I gotta look into the biological. So for and this is something I can talk about right now. Understanding that the amygdala is and the master switch of the emotional intelligence, it's liberating. Yeah. Grew up with rich folk. That's why I hate them so much. Yeah. I didn't. The closest thing I had to rich was my grandma's sister. That would come in, and by our standards, yeah, she was like loaded. And by most people's standards, yeah, she wasn't doing bad, you know. But she would come in and, it was, she was like almost like Santa Claus. She'd come in, she'd, take everybody out to eat, and, she'd get me school clothes, stuff like that, like just basic necessities. Um, but man, it was just like, and we would go out to her house. She lived in one of those little housing tracts. Her house was probably like, I don't know, about $200,000, kind of house. And I mean, yeah, it had 2 floors to it. I was like, oh my God, because I never lived in anything that didn't have wheels on it. I mean, I was like, oh my God, you got like a legit foundation here. There's stairs, and she had like this open balcony that you could look over I mean, to me, that was like the fanciest. That was like the fanciest thing ever. It's like, wow, you've got steps and like concrete foundation. She had like the corner, the corner house. It was such a nice place. And there was one time I got to stay out there during the summer, and I got to like go to the library out there, and it was just so different, so different. But you know, but with those people, I didn't socialize with the upper crust there. It was just the family that was there. But yeah, it was yeah, I'm sure if I had to deal with them, it probably wouldn't have been such a great experience because at least like we're taught that there are things like empathy, and we're taught things like that, like don't bite your friends, like stuff like that in school. And for certain communities, like they're taught that those things are weaknesses: love, friendship, empathy. These are all like weaknesses, and that so it's like, yeah, bullies. I could totally see that. I could totally see that. Um, Class and penetrating middle class. I learned a lot about how class works. I no longer identify with any class and push for people to discover true community. Yeah, and that was one of the things that was really shocking when I worked at the hospital, because all these nurses were uh, in a different economic bracket, and they would. It was just wild, man. That because they were always going out, they were always doing stuff. They would go on vacations, and they were like always comparing like stuff. But at the same time, they were working 16-hour shifts and like wearing themselves down and running themselves ragged. And they were the epitome of work hard, play hard. That was them. They would bust their ass, but then they would also take a week off. So if they worked like 3 16-hour shifts, they could get a week off of work. So, but the first couple of days you're useless because you've done nothing but work for 3 days straight. So you still, but the way that they did their schedule, it was like that. And so they would do things, but they also got things like shift differentials and bonuses. If there was a critical, staff shortage and, they came in, they would get extra money. Now, if that happened and I came in, do you know how much money extra I would make? Zero. Because I'm a different tax bracket or whatever. And there's even times that I would go and do overtime that because I was right there on the cusp, and if I had to do certain amounts of overtime. So if it was I had to do just a little bit or a whole lot, because if it was the middle ground, I would go into the next tax bracket and it wouldn't show up on my check. It was like all that work for nothing because it was just taken out in taxes. So yeah, but I never got that stuff. That's like one of those perks, right? It's one of those perks of having money. Money makes money. But they were also really bitchy, very catty. Not all of them, there's and not all the time either, because they had their moments. It was not. I'd never encountered people like that before. It was just they just operated different. I mean, they had parties that you had to like dress a certain way for. And they would never invite me to them until I went. So until I started nursing school, and they were like, "Oh, you're one of us now. Oh, okay, you're not part of the scum, you know." And after I started nursing school, then they started being nice to me. I was like, "What the fuck?" Then they learned my name, because before that they would call me like Jennifer or Brittany, even though my name is written up on the board. Like we had a board that had everybody's like patients, like who was assigned to what and who was the health unit coordinator. And before that, I would get called all kinds of different names, none of them mine. And after that, I got invited to the parties. After that, I started, and then there was like all this extra pressure, and that's about the time that my addiction got into full blown, because I was relying more and more on that in order to fit in and to do what I needed to do. And there's like a moment in time where that works, and then it just like until it doesn't. And then I had to be honest, and I was just like, one of the women that she's like, "What happened? Like, what are you doing?" Because I was down there, I was at the ER because my boyfriend beat my ass. And I say, "Well, you know what, here's the thing, I'm struggling on drugs and my boyfriend beat my ass, so this." It was so bad. This was like right after I got fired. I was like, "Oh, so what are you doing down here?" "Oh, nothing. I'm on drugs. My boyfriend beat me up. I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing? How you doing, Kathy?" But I mean, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do it anymore. Interactions came naturally, and that I can just stand on my feet for 20 hours a day while pregnant. I wasn't on the drugs while I was pregnant, but but I still had to pretend like, I was like over 300 pounds and pregnant. Yeah. And I'm just like, everything's fine. I'm fine. This is natural. No, it wasn't. It was included, and so I did what I had to do for it. And I just got, after all that, I was like, I just didn't give a shit anymore. Like, this is it. And of course, I didn't want anything. I mean, naturally, that they don't want to deal with somebody that's dealing with all that. They didn't even like me that in the first place, let alone like stick around for the extra shit. You know what I mean? Like the people that only liked me because of that stuff, of course they're not going to be there when things are bad. So, but that's one of those things that you got to learn. It's like, I just thought that was so important, like, for these people to like me, because whatever. And it doesn't matter, because there's so many people out there, and you can't do that for the rest of your life. Like, you can't like make yourself fit into this cookie cutter. And I see so many people do that. I mean, like all these fucking people around here that think that if they just listen to enough Toby Keith and put enough, Republican bumper stickers on their truck, that it's like a pre-adopted personality. Like, this isn't you. This isn't something like natural. This is like a pre-adopted personality. Like you see this, you see type A, type B, type C. Okay, which one do I want to be? This one, or this one? And then they'll do whatever they have to do in order to fit into that. So I was like, no, I'm not the only one. I just picked a certain way of doing it. You know, I picked a certain group and I picked a certain method. You know, these other people will pick hatred and, you know, othering, different people. And, you know, in order to fit into that category. So, oh, I want to be the Blue Lives Matter Toby Keith redneck or hillbilly. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well, that means I got to hate this group over here, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I have to be okay with the destruction that the coal mines are doing to my community, and I have to pretend like that's not happening, you know? And they can't turn to drugs, they turn to church, which is, you know, the opiate of the masses. So, you know, we all have our ways. Mine was a little bit more personally destructive than that. Some people choose the destroying others path, but, you know. Enough money to not want for anything, but not enough, what? Oh, sorry, Oz. Yeah, it's a lot, and but that's what I was saying, you know, probably should have warned people, but I just kind of, you know, fly off the top of my head. But yeah, I don't mean to bring up anything bad for anybody else, but I'm just trying to speak honestly so people, or openly, so that way people know, you know, how this stuff works. Because like I said, you know, hearing Shanda talk about everything, I never would have thought that. I never would have known anything that she's been through. Because, you know, she just seems so put together, you know? But, you know, that wasn't by accident. She had to work really hard at that. She had to go through all this stuff in order to get to the point that she's at right now. And that happens by letting go of the guilt, letting go of the shame, being open about your experience, and, you know, and hopefully, you know, maybe it could be a cautionary tale for people. I don't know. Maybe it's a learning experience. But either, let me scroll down the chat. Hold on. Wait, who said that they don't belong in prison? From now on, we'll call you Jennifer. You have no idea how many times I get called the wrong name because I was so quiet. They used to call me Silent Bob in school. It was either Silent Bob or they called me Daria because, you know, I kind of have the same personality type. But yeah, that I was just so quiet that yeah. And even when they called me the, oh my God, this happened when when Eli was in preschool, and the teacher called me the wrong name, and I didn't want to correct her, and I was like, well, she'll figure it out because, you know, she'll see that that's not my name like the next time she calls me. But she didn't know that, and she just kept calling me the wrong name, and then we got into like 6 months into school. I was like, at this point, I can't say anything. I mean, at this point, like, I can't, after like the first couple of weeks, you know, the first, 10 times she's done this, at this point, I can't say anything. Like, I just have to this is my name now. And it was like 6 months in before she's like, why didn't you say anything? I was like, I don't know. I do. I don't know. It was bad. It was so bad. Do you get to sleep late after these? Yeah, well, kind of. I'll usually go to sleep around 4 or 5. I'll get back up, usually around like 9:30, 10. I'll get about 4 hours of sleep either way. Today, that's all I did. I just slept a lot. I was tired. I slept in. I didn't go to bed till super late anyway. The time that I was supposed to be getting up is when I went to bed. Don't tell me. Don't tell my mom. But yeah, I'll still get sleep either way. But I think I like this just because it's like our time. You know, it's not like daytime busy. You don't have like all these extra, random. This is like just, it's more one-on-one than it would be during the day. It's like a secret. Yeah, oh my God, my circadian rhythm is fucked. But mine always runs a little bit longer. Like, okay, this is always the problem. Even when I had a normal sleep, if I can manage to get a normal sleeping schedule, the way that my body runs, it's like I want to stay up. Like if I go to bed at 7 p.m. one night, the next night I'll go to bed at 8 p.m. Next night 9 p.m. Next night 10 p.m. until I have to come full circle and come back. Because it's just like I run a little bit longer than 24 hours. It totally messes everything up. But by doing all this like work, like the biological stuff, and I was like, well, because I started looking at factors like that, like sleep, and I started seeing when my sleep schedule started getting messed up, which it wasn't when I was a little kid, but around, I'd say 9 maybe, 8 or 9 is when my sleep schedule got like this. And I started lining that up with other things that were happening. It's like, oh, okay. Maybe that's it. Could be. But I just know, like, before that, it's not like I was 4 years old staying up till 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure there were some nights, but yeah. But it's just things I got to figure out. I can't even imagine what it would be like. And this is something that's held me back too, because day shift where I had to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I begged them. I said, please do not do this to me. I cannot. I'm not a functioning human being at 7 o'clock in the morning. It didn't. They just put me on that constantly, and I was calling off all the time, not showing up to work, being late. That ain't it. Those were functioning hours. Like you have to go. I mean, when you have a doctor's appointment, you have to because the stores are open, this late. I don't like daytime. Yeah. Here it is. I mean, it's 3:15 in the morning. Like, Jesus Christ. But I didn't even feel awake until probably like 8:30. Like, before that, I can be awake, but I'm not awake. Like, the eyes are open, the mind is not. And it's not until about like 8 or 9 o'clock at night that it's like my mind comes awake. Before that, I'm just zombie. Sorry. And it was funny too because I even played volleyball, so and I was not skilled at that. I mean, there's certain sports and stuff I have more of a natural inclination towards, but volleyball was not one of them, and it was just kind of like it was so bad. It was so bad. But hey, I got myself out of the comfort zone and I tried something new, so it doesn't always pan out. But at least I did it. The people that yeah, but there's so much. Oh my God. And we keep talking about revolutions. We keep talking about, well, people need to do this. People need to do that. If we just did this, if we just did that, none of us are in a position to be able to do anything right now. We can't even take care of ourselves. You know what I mean? Like we're not well. And I'm not to group everybody in, because I'm sure, you know, there's so many, when we're talking about a revolution where we need the masses are not well. I don't know what y'all's specific, situations are, but the masses are not well. The majority is not well. We're all by design. By design. And then we're like, well, why can't people just see that? And I've done this too. I'm like, well, if I just put this information out here, if I just figure out the solutions, like, look, there's been solutions to things, but we're not capable, we're not well enough to take care of ourselves or our, immediate community, let alone, like, think of it on a scale like that. And what's the hindrance? What's the roadblock in every single one of these situations? Okay, just the way my brain's fucked up is the way that I won't pay attention to myself. I'll pay attention. I want to help everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not looking internally. Like, I would look internally, but to a certain degree. Like, I put all my needs and wants on the back burner. People that will do the opposite. There's other people that will just hate. But while we're doing our own crazy, hell loop shit, while we're stuck on our own tracks and with our own blindnesses. So it's like, yeah, I get being blind to things. So, in that sense, like, maybe we could make some headway with it, but, if that's what it's going to come down to, because nobody's mentally fit for this shit. First we got to do that. Then the next step would have to be resources, because nobody has the resources for, to sponsor people going on strikes or, shit like that, or to start their own, community gardens. When you're working at McDonald's, you don't have money for yourself, let alone to start projects for the community. So, like, that's the second step, I would say, is, like, first we got to fix ourselves, or at least not fix, but heal. We got to be able to heal ourselves to a certain degree. Then we got to go after the resources, but it's going to be a long process, and the only way that just, like, step one, because if we don't have this protected, we can't protect it. If we have to protect our minds not only from ourselves, but from all these people that are trying to exploit it. We have to be fit for this shit, and we ain't fit. Problems prevent me from working at full capacity. Like, I could do that, but it's going to come at the cost of my life, my family. You get what I'm saying? Like, and that's how I've been operating so far. Is, I will do research. I'll stay up all night and do research, but I won't sleep. I'll go and spend money to get to an event. Then I won't have grocery money for myself. I'll make sure my kids, I always make sure my kids are taken care of, but, I'm doing it at the cost, that's where I'm at now, because I'm using myself up for other people. Not that anybody's asked me to do it, it's just something that's always, that was a survival mechanism I learned as a kid that I've taken into adulthood. So, gotta fix that. See, First Amendment, Josh, revolution, rich people take too much. But they already have. They've taken people's lives. They've taken people's retirements, their jobs, their wages, their homes, their ability to buy homes, or, or even be in a rental for that matter. They've taken everything. What more? They take the kids. They've taken people's family members with the, like Big Pharma with the opiate epidemic. They took people's family members. That's not something. It's smaller and saying, like, and trying to make ourselves happier with less. Well, as long as we still have this, as long as we still have that, and it's like left. We're fighting each other and blaming each other because we can't go, punch up, because those are the people we can't hit, because they're the bosses. They're the people. They're the employers. They're the people that we feel powerless against. So we'll just look for somebody that we feel like we do have power over, and then we'll take it out on them. That's why you got people that are hating other people for no reason. It's like, well, I can't sock Bill Gates in the face, but I can punch my neighbor. I can't punch this person, or I can make this person feel bad or hate on this person, because at least we feel like there's something we can do there, even though it's not right. But we just keep making ourselves happier. We're talking about eating bugs. There's got to be a line, but we don't have a line because we don't look internally to know what our line is. We can't really have values and morals and shit when we can't explore what's important to us, or really think about it, or have all the information. It's like, it's so fucked up. And these are all things that I've had to figure out. It's not like something that's like readily available. It's just it's taken so much just to get to this point. It's a lot. And it's like, man, I'm 34. And, well, I might as well say 35. 35. Shit gets old, and the older you get, the more tired you get, the less, brain elasticity you have, which I don't have the same amount that I had when I was, younger. I took a standardized test, man, and I felt dumb as fuck. It was a real reading test, and I was like, did I forget how to read? What the fuck? And I'm like reading the question, because I was always so good. I was scoring like the 98th percentile on my test. But I was reading that, and I read the questions, and I read the paragraph, and then went back to the questions, and I was like, where is that? I don't see it in the paragraph. I can't find the answer. And I keep reading, and I was like, am I dumb? Because I don't see the answer in this. What's happening? But yeah, but it could be the other, the new way they're teaching stuff. But either way, man, I was like, I felt dumber than a box of rocks. And it's not, the older I get, it's going to be a lot harder. Now's the time to do it. Now's the time to do it, because the older I get, it's going to get way harder to do it. Y'all be nice. Come on. Yeah, but you know what? Josh is here with us, First Amendment. He's here, and he's been an ally this whole time. He's here having the discussions. Can you say that? Can't say that about most people like that, that come from that. He's here, and he knows, and he's, like, what, you're in your 20s? I mean, you're so young, and he's got so much wisdom past that. We all have our flaws, but, hell, we're all here together trying to fix it, Y'all got more in common than you think. And it's not, don't just look at the, that and just say, like, oh, and lump them in. Because, nobody's a monolith. If that was the case, you'd be out doing rich people shit. Instead of staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning with us talking about this shit. I'm just saying, cut them some slack, man. People hear that, it's just like that's the first thing they go to. They just want to just. Not that, I mean, I get the instinct, but, you gotta look past that. Because, I mean, we've been hurt by so many people with money that we just can't, like, just put everybody together like that. And it's the same thing you see, like, oh, within the Green Party, well, you're a Democrat. It's like, well, yeah, nobody's in the Green Party. You have to recruit people from different parties. Like, you're going to have to recruit people that were Democrats or Republicans or whatever. And they would use that as a way to ostracize them, but at the same time, it's like, they're here, aren't they? Like, I don't know. Just be kind. Just give people chances. Y'all fight so much. Y'all fight all the time. Every time I live stream, y'all are always bickering with each other. Get wrecked. Get wrecked. Oh yeah, lefties can. Oh yeah, lefties just as corrupt. That's why I'm ambidextrous. I like that. About that, and then, oh, you're just a Trumper. Okay. I'll say something about, like, I don't know. We should all make a thriving wage, to the Republican Party. People in that. It's like, you fucking commie. Okay. I'm a Trump commie. I'm a anti-vax Trump commie. That's it. Because those ideas all go thinks I'm right wing, and the right wing thinks I'm left wing, and I'm not a centrist by any means, at all. I don't. I'm not a fence sitter. So yeah. I'm so bad on the chat. Lefty's a LARPer. That's what I always thought about. Like the Antifa people when I see, or not just Antifa, but when I saw like the oh my god, you got like those like khaki wearing, like the torch uh you know wielding, right wing people. Or what was that one? It was really weird. I think it was like something in DC, but it was like all these guys came out. It was like some kind of like right wing Trump thing, some spectacle they had, and they all had the same like FBI buzz cut, like not a single chunky one in there. And I'm like, you're telling me that you took a group of Americans and there's not a chunky one in there? That right there screams like psyop. Because if you take any, like, just pick any random Americans, you're going to get somebody in there that's going to be like unfit, chunky, or whatever, Like, not a single one of them had like a elevated BMI. Okay, that's weird. It's almost like they had to pass like some kind of like test or something. They all had the same haircut. Nobody had like a weird haircut. They were all dressed the same. It was super bizarre. But I'm like, yeah, this ain't organic. But yeah, it's all LARPing. Oh, you just saw there's you got your costume, you got 10 magic missile. Well, we go through my soup cans, or pepper spray or whatever it is. It's like fucking LARPers. It's like they all want to pretend. Even the politicians, like they're all LARPing. Dress a certain way, act a certain way. It's all pretend. Oh, fucking fascists. That's right. Oh, I haven't read it yet because I was trying to get all this together. I was going to read it before bed. That's usually when I like to read for fun, is like right before bed. So I'm going to read it tonight, this morning, whatever you want to call it. I'm so excited. I'm like, okay, just that's my little treat at the end of the day. I'm going to read that. It was an interview for NPR a few years ago. Oh. For now. Oh. Huh. Yeah, I've had that happen before. Is like they'll interview me for something, and then like all this stuff from Mobilize 88, all the stuff that, like, when I got to ask Nina Turner, and people questions and all this stuff, and all that's gone. It was on the Real News Network. All that footage is gone. Cannot find it. Even when I was going back on their YouTube, it would only go back to a certain date. It wouldn't go back that far. It wouldn't show me videos from that far back. And then, like, when I was at the Ojeda thing and I was up there on stage, I was like cropped out of it. Like, right where the camera is, it's like, here's the camera. I was right here. It's like there's no proof that I was. All these things done, no proof of it. No proof whatsoever. It's like there's just, it gets scrapped. It's super weird. Super weird. Oh my god, a short story about beans. Oh my god, I can't wait to share that with Eli. Hopefully I get my car fixed tomorrow so I can go pick him up. Oh my god. Short story about beans. Eli's gonna love it. Yeah, I don't trust any of them. But at the time, I thought that was, I was a newbie to all this. So, yeah, at the time, I did trust. I mean, I didn't trust them. I didn't trust the politicians, but I thought there was good ones. You know. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I think that's enough psychological shit for tonight. Like I said, if you spend too much time on this shit, it's gonna be like facing two cameras at each other. It's gonna be like a feedback loop of craziness. So it's good to like balance this out with some other, talking about other stuff, or just do it in like short little bursts. So, oh yeah, I mean, life expectancy in McDowell County here is 65. That's not even the age of retirement. 65, and most people, it's a lot younger than that. You know how many 30-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 40-year-olds I see in obituaries, because I have to watch it for family members. So many young people. I mean, even in school, all the kids that grew up in like in these hollers where the coal mines were, how many kids I went to school with that died from cancer? Too many. Too many kids. Too many kids died from cancer. I mean, that's not a statistic. Like that's supposed to be one of those rare things, Like I should have known. I mean, I can name 5 off the top of my head that died from cancer while I was in school. Not to mention, kids that died from, four-wheeler accidents or motorcycle accidents, motorbike. Um, the drug overdoses that have happened, like right after they got out of school, stuff like that. I mean, there's so many people, and even the ones that lived, it's like technically their bodies are still going, but it's like they're dead already. Like my cousin's like, dude, she's just a like walking zombie. The person she was is already gone, so it's like, yeah, there's just so much, dude. It ain't right. But let me see if this is working yet. Not yet. Oh, let me try. Oh, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm just going to do the chat on here. Because I'm going to finish it up. Read the bean story before you show it to your... Okay, I'll read it before I show it to you. But I just remember he had to... he asked, he was like, can I put some... something about beans in there? I don't know why. Some of those Generation Z meme things with me and the boys eating beans at 3 a.m. I don't know. I'm too old for that. It's one of their things. So, I don't know. I don't really get it, but it's funny. Best business. Yeah. One of these days I'm going to look. I keep meaning to do it, Cheesy, and learn more about it, but I kept getting distracted, and now I got my plate full of stuff, but it's not something I've forgotten about, the Carnation Revolution. I'm going to look more into it. Oh, I'm sorry, Howard. Yeah. Yeah, it happens. I mean, it's just, people are fed just art, all this the stuff that we eat, their environment, all this stuff plays a factor in it. But you know what? Henry Kissinger's still kicking. The Queen was 100 years old. She would, but people like us don't, we don't get that luxury. Good people don't. My grandma was 74. 74. That was it. I mean, she could have at least another 10, 20 years, but when you grow up in the coal mining community and, you drink the water here, and so much of her life, she just, she'd eat every other day or something like that because she didn't have, the money to feed all her kids and herself every day. You know, she made sure her kids were, and plus all that, you know, lack of health care, shit like that. And it's unfortunate because that's the one resource that nobody, I mean, we'll talk about it, but that's, you can make more of other things. You can replace gold. You can replace things like that. Human lives are irreplaceable. Each one is so specific and unique. And even if you could, like, that's still, like, you can't. Like, you can't replace that. That's just something that's gone that you'll never get back. So, you know, we got to start treating it that way. Not like in a pro-life, you know, like, I wish the pro-life people would see it that way. I really do. I wish that they would look past the fetus stage and look into, like, the wars and the way we treat people, and, like, true pro-life. True pro-life. You know, look into why are people dying so young? Why are these fucks living so long? But that's another topic for another day. Yeah. Cocoa bean. Coffee bean. Yeah. Yeah, I never really thought about how many beans there are. Jelly beans. That's what I always call my kids, like, when I was pregnant. I was like, they always look like little jelly beans, little sonograms. They look like jelly beans to me. Anyway, alright. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning. We're going to get some rest and take care of ourselves and be good to ourselves and be kind to ourselves, be forgiving. You know, this is something that, you know, I would say the people here are probably really good at doing that for others. So, and if you're not doing that for yourself, you know, let's do that. Let's start doing that. Let's start doing that. Let's start being more kind to ourselves and each other. So, that being said, thank you for hanging out with me at this early morning, late night live stream. And I appreciate everybody's conversation, because it's, you know, y'all always have something good. Y'all always have good stuff in the chat. And I always end up learning something from y'all in the process of trying to, you know, share what I've learned. But anyway, I'll see you probably tomorrow or the next day, whenever. Good night.